Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back here to today's edition of Intuitive Angling, and thank you very much for coming by the channel and checking out today's video and spending some of your time with me. Really appreciate that. And guys, you know the tips that I give here on Intuitive Angling, a lot of them are different in terms of how much they're going to help you out, because some of the tips I give you, like say for example, if we talk about a specific lure color for the month of November, they're going to help you out in a very narrow window, a specific situation. And other tips, like I'm going to give you guys today, is going to help you make those big leaps and bounds as an angler in your consistency. And today, guys, we're going to talk about how to break down a lake. This is a critical piece of information for everybody to know, because if you fish a lake that is anything over like 500 or 1,000 acres, you've got to know how to break that lake down into size based upon different times of the year to put you in the most high percentage areas. So we're going to get into that in today's video. It's really going to be a good video here on the channel today. And also, guys, talking about breaking down a lake, I'd like to invite you probably heard me talking about it a lot if you watch the channel, to check out my Fish the Moment lake map breakdowns, guys. These are lake map breakdowns I've built for lakes all across the country for the fishthemoment.com website. Every breakdown that I have gives you 40 GPS waypoints based upon the season you go there. They're all different based upon the season. That you can download it straight to your electronic GPS unit. It gives you tips and advice and an overview how to fish each spot, an overview of the lake, based upon the season, and then you can duplicate that information yourself and just take it out on your own and learn from that. So I'll put the lake map breakdown link in the description of the video here. Really appreciate that. And one other quick thing, guys, I want to share with you guys. One of the most underrated jerkbait colors that don't get fished anymore is this clown pattern here. Guys, this clown pattern is an excellent color on any type of a cloudy, rainy day. This is the Megabass clown here in the Edo Shiner. I'll put my Megabass Jerkbait link in the description of the video here if you guys would like to pick one up there, so really appreciate that. Okay, guys, let's talk a little bit about breaking down a lake, how you want to do it, what the situation is with that. If you're going to consistently and quickly locate bass, you have got to be able to take that lake and make it manageable, because you can't do everything in one day. It's like if you got 6 or 7 hours to fish, you can't cover the whole lake and you can't fish every lure that you have in your tackle box. You have to accurately assess the best part of the lake to fish with the best lure and technique. So I want to go over with you guys how I break down a lake, just step by step. We'll go over this an overview with that. Now, first of all, I could make this video last 5 hours long if we actually did it, in fine-tooth detail, because when you're talking about breaking down a lake, you have got to do it season by season and actually month by month, because every month on a lake is going to have a different set of variables in a different area and a different type of technique that works the best. So the first thing that you have to do when you're breaking down a lake is you have to have some type of a basic understanding of seasonal patterns of the fish in order to break that lake down quickly. And what I want to do in today's video is I want to give you guys just an overview real quick about how I break a lake down in the fall time of the year. Then we'll get into the winter, spring, and summer, in later videos. But I want to talk about specifically how I break a lake down in the fall time of the year. And for the fall time, I'm talking about, between the months of like September and early December. That's sort of what I classify fall. I classify winter time as when that water temperature is within, say, 5 degrees of the coldest point that it gets, during the course of the year. In other words, if the water temperature in your lake, the lowest it gets is 43 degrees, if it's, 48 degrees, I consider that winter. So 5 degrees above the lowest point. Okay, so here is how I break down a lake in the fall time of the year. The fall time of the year is one of the most difficult times of the year to break down a lake, because you have bass doing so many different things, and you have bass doing living in so many different water columns, because what happens in the fall time of the year is there's a lot of suitable habitat for the bass once the thermocline breaks up. Now, the thermocline usually starts breaking up in early fall, and what happens when that thermocline breaks up, and the thermocline is going to be present in most lakes that do not have, very much current in it, or don't have constant current in it. Most man-made lakes are going to have thermocline. Once the thermocline breaks up, it allows those fish to do a lot of different stuff. It allows them to go a lot deeper than they did when the thermocline was formed in the summertime. It allows them to suspend, go deep on the bottom, go deep, period, mid depths and shallow depths. So during the fall time of the year, when you're talking about breaking down a lake, it's the only time of year that I know about where the entire lake can be good. That literally, you can catch fish from the lower end to the dam end of the lake, all the way to the extremities of the river in the fall time of the year. But you still have to be able to break it down. You can't, even though this is the most complex time of year to fish, you have still got to be able to break that lake down. So here is how I do it. I do my fall time breakdowns based upon the water temperature in the fall. Because the water temperatures in the fall, they fluctuate greatly, probably more than any time of the year. Because say, for example, if you consider fall time starting in the mid part of September, I've seen 85-degree water in the middle of September here in Missouri. And then all the way up to, say, December, which I also consider late fall, I've seen water temperatures in the 50s. So you have a huge temperature fluctuation in the fall time of the year. So how I break down a lake in the fall time of the year is based upon the water temperature per month. So here's how I do it. In the warmer parts of the fall time of the year, like September and October, if your water temperature is still, say, above 75 degrees or so, which is in early fall, most lakes are, I look for the dirtiest, shallowest water on the lake to fish. That's my favorite way to do it. So when I'm breaking down a lake, say in September and early October, I eliminate every part of the lake that isn't an upper extremity that has any type of clear water in it. So therefore, when I'm breaking it down, I look at the map that I'm fishing, and I look at the upper tributaries, like the upper part of the river or the back parts of the creeks, and I'm looking for that off-colored water. And one of the ways that I do this, and I do this a lot throughout the whole fall, is I use that Google Earth map, because the Google Earth map can identify water clarity changes around the lake. It's a very quick way to do it without being on the water. So this is the biggest piece of advice I'm going to give you on that, is download that Google app, Google Earth map, and you can zoom in on your favorite lake, every lake across the country, and you can see water clarity fluctuations and locate from Google Earth the most off-colored water on the lake. And then get up in that area, guys, and just fish whatever cover you have available. You know, if you got docks or wood or lay down trees, fish that. If you got just rocky banks, fish that. If you got some emergent or submergent vegetation, fish that. But fish shallow, fish less than 5 foot of water. And probably my favorite way to break it down, and the quickest way to break it down, is with a little crankbait. Small little crankbait in the fall time of the year, in the early fall, is deadly. It's hard to beat, really good bait for that. Small spinner bait, or maybe pitching and flipping some type of a tube, or, you know, creature bait or something is going to be good. Okay, now next, once you get into the mid part of the fall and the water temperatures, let's say that water temperature is between, you know, low 60s to low 70s, and that gradient range. And usually that is going to be, you know, during the month of October. Sometimes during the month of October, this is going to open up more of the lake. And normally what I like to do is I still concentrate on the upper extremities to some point, but also I start moving down the lake to the mid part of the lake a little bit. I start looking in some of the mid portion of the lake and some of the major creek arms, you know, once that water temperature starts dropping. So I'll look at my map there. I'm not really that concerned about water clarity in the mid part of the lake. I just want to find some major creek arms in the mid part of the lake. And the first thing that I do in the middle of the fall, guys, is I'm always looking for a topwater bite. You know, and it can be a myriad of topwaters. It could be a walking topwater, it could be a whopper plopper, it could be a buzz bait, it could be a popar. But I am looking for a topwater bait in the mid part of the lake during October, and anytime that water temperature is, say, you know, low 60s to low 70s. That's my number one deal with that. Now I'm still fishing a little crankbait, and I'm still gonna possibly look, you know, up in that stained water there, but that sort of starts to fade away a little bit, you know, as that water temperature drops. And that top water is really hard to beat in that part of the year. Now, a lot of it also depends what type of lake you have as far as the water clarity and the cover you have available. There's a lot of different options, but one of the things I found about the breaking the lake down during the month of October and early November is there's a lot of fish in those creek arms in the mid part of the lake. So say, for example, you got like a 25 or 30,000 acre lake. you want to segment it, like the lower, the lower end of the lake, is down there. Then you got the mid part here. Then you got the upper end here. You want to segment that lake into 3 different areas and concentrate in that mid part of that lake and look for the creek arms in there. The bigger, the better. Not to say little creek arms aren't going to work good, but your bigger creek arms are always going to hold more fish. And again, just fish whatever cover is available. Try it first with the top water and then just adjust accordingly based upon, everything that could be working there. Okay, now once the water temperature starts dropping below 60 degrees, usually in November and December, during that period there, that's when I'm moving down to the lower end of the lake. I'm looking for the dam area of the lake. I'm looking for the cleanest water I can find. And there's a lot of different techniques that can work. When that water temperature is in the 50s and 60s on that lower end of the lake, guys, a spinnerbait is hard to beat. And when that in late fall, another thing with it is how I break down the lake. I'm not only concentrating on the lower end of the lake, but I'm really focused on the light intensity during this period. The light intensity is critical as far as, the technique that you want to use in November and December. But guys, probably one of the best techniques that you can have is take a little finessey spinnerbait like that Megabass SD3 that I use, and guys, just burn it on windy banks, burn it down points, burn it on bluff banks. Really good way to catch them. Another good way to catch them by breaking that lake down that time of year is a glide bait. A glide bait this time of year is a really good place to catch them. During that time of year on the lower end of the lake, I'm concentrating more on main lake structures. So the creek arms are not going to be quite as big of a deal for me in the lower end. I'm going to be concentrating on the main lake points, main lake bluffs, main lake rocky banks. I'm looking for wind all the time to throw that glide bait and that spinner bait on. Just super deadly way to catch them. And sometimes, guys, you can start when that water temperature gets down in the 50s, you can catch them on the lower end of the lake on a wiggle wart or a rock crawler before a lot of people start fishing them. But you want to concentrate, if you can, on those steeper rocky banks. Or it doesn't even have to be like big rock. It could be like gravelly or pea gravel, as long as it's got some deep water access next to it and wind. That's going to be a really good thing. And if you do happen to have a day where it just slicks off, that type of thing, a lot of those fish will get on those same type of areas, but they will suspend out a little bit deeper off the bank or out off those points, and you can catch them on a little swim bait, like a little 3-inch Kitech or a drop shot or something like that for suspended fish. But that's how I break a lake down in the fall time of the year, guys, is based upon month, based upon water temperatures. I'm going to start out on the upper end. I'm going to move to the mid part of the lake in the mid part of fall. I'm moving to the lower end of the lake in the late part of fall. And if you try that and just focus on those areas, it really makes it less intimidating. It's like if you're intimidated and you're getting started out as an angler, or even if you have been fishing for a while, it really helps if you pull into an area and just say, okay, this is the part of the lake I'm going to fish today. I'm not going to worry about the lower end. I'm not going to worry about the mid part. I'm going to fish this upper end or whatever part of the lake that you decide to fish that day. And just concentrate on figuring the fish out in those areas. Because I can give you some tips and advice on how to catch them, but there's always variables that change that. The light intensity and the water level and the water clarity, the fishing pressure, you have to figure that out on your own. But those are the type of areas, and that's how I go about breaking down a lake during the fall time of the year. So we'll do some other videos, guys. We'll do one this winter. I'll teach you how to break down a winter lake. And again, guys, if you want to actually have something you can just sink your teeth into, please check out, again, those lake map breakdowns that I built for fishthemoment.com. Link in the description of the video for them. So really appreciate it. Talk later.